Hello everybody, welcome back to the Redmen TV, and this is the part of the night where we have a chat about what we've just watched. Liverpool 3, Leicester 1. Job done. I was going to say well and truly done, but yeah, kind of. Let's talk about it. What do we make of it? Were we worried? Were we panicking? Did we think we were going to slip up and miss a golden opportunity to go what is now 7 points clear with a game in hand? So yeah, all's well that ends well for the Reds. And listen, it was all right in the end. Yeah, a little bit frustrating in the first half. Obviously, the conceding of the goal early on, really poor, really sloppy, really tame goal from Liverpool's perspective. The ball travels a long way inside the area, and then ultimately it's finished off via a deflection, albeit. But yeah, Liverpool weren't at it for a large part of that first half. Just aimless crosses into the box, and didn't really look like we had another option or a plan B, which was odd. Really strange watching. But yeah. Better, much better as the game wore on. Let's talk about it then, shall we? Olivia kicks it off with a get in and on to the next. And the next is West Ham, of course, this weekend. Misty says, I won't lie, Dan, that first half I thought we could have won the night when the ball wouldn't go over the line. But yeah, a little bit of that. We never really created anything clear cut. Obviously, it's the Andy Robertson header. Hits the posts from quite a distance, actually, for a header. And the Mo Salah effort where he clips the top of the crossbar and goes behind. But I'll be honest, I was far from convinced by Liverpool's first half display. We didn't really do anything with any sort of proper precision. It felt like we had a game plan and we had an option, and it was to go for crosses and to try and hit the back post and get, whether it be Salah or Gakpo around the other side, on the end of stuff and back across the box, and then hopefully somebody on the end of it thereafter. But the crosses were all too hopeful, without any real, I'm going to pick you out, I'm going to find you, any real accuracy or intent on them, I suppose. And then we had a lot of corners and the set pieces. The delivery was poor, kept hitting the first man, Trent especially. It was interesting how we looked as though we've worked on a new routine. It was very Arsenal-esque in terms of overloading the back post, and then they all come round. But it doesn't matter what you do in terms of your ability or efforts to get people on the end of stuff if the delivery is as poor as it was more often than not. So yeah, frustrating. Really frustrating. Yeah, I have seen your DM, by the way. I will get back to you. I have seen it. Yeah, get booking that flight, my mate. Get booking that flight. Yeah, listen, yeah, it's hard to be too downbeat, and we'll swing this right around in a minute. Because, as says here by Devanis, what a Christmas. Like, results keep going our way. Let's hope Ipswich can do us a favour tomorrow night. Like, Liverpool are flying, absolutely flying. And yet again, we show the powers of recovery, and we show the ability to get a setback in a game, to struggle for a little bit of a game and find a way, work out a way to make it all okay. Not just in terms of the players and them stepping up to the plate, which I think Cody Gakpo did over anybody else actually on the night, but as a team, as a collective unit, to find a better way of playing within a game of football. That's become one of our key strengths this season, it feels like. A lot of it's down to Arne Slot, but actually just figuring out on the pitch. Liverpool did that tonight because, again, it was clear to see. It was, sorry, I've just been completely sidetracked by this super chat. I'll bring it up on screen now for you all to see. Yeah, as I was saying, the method or the tactic of crossing into the box wasn't happening. And we worked that out finally, and just did it a different way, went about our business in a different manner, and yeah, paid dividends, because Liverpool, after equalising, Cody Gakpo, exceptional. It did look as though, although I'm being quite critical of that first 40 minutes, rightfully so in my opinion, it did feel as though if anything was going to happen, it was going to be Cody Gakpo that delivered it. He felt like the most likely source of a goal, and delivered in some style as well, because what a goal it was. But pretty much from that moment on, including a little flurry right at the end of the half, actually, we were far superior to they were. Sorry, the whole page just crashed completely. I feel like the laptop's crashed a little bit, which is a major issue for this show, because I'm supposed to be bringing your chats up, and I'm going to be honest, that looks impossible right now. I'll dive into Twitter momentarily and hopefully get the chats back up as we go along, because yeah, that's a problem. That's a proper problem. Let's dive into the Twitter, because that is working right now, so you have to bear with me momentarily. Life, Boxing Day life. Sorav on Twitter says the King scores again, referencing Mohamed Salah. I can't believe it's crashed and I can't change the chat with that on screen, by the way. I meant to bring that up for like a minute so you could all see it. There we go. Thank you. It's gone. Yeah, the King scores again. Gakpo scores again. 10 goals now for Cody Gakpo, by the way, this season. Looks more and more solid playing from the back with Salah making those runs. Yeah, the Salah performance was an interesting one for me, just to spin on that thread momentarily. Listen, scores, and what a goal it was. Absolutely sublime. The effortlessness with which he scores that goal, just passes it into the corner, really. Yeah, just sublime. A player right at the peak of his powers right now. Best in the world for my money right now. And I've seen Quad Bod's comment, I can't bring it on screen for obvious reasons, but show Mo the money. Yeah, show the money. Like, I've said it for a few weeks now. It's time. It was time a month ago. He is on course for Ballon d'Or conversations, if not more, next season for me. The way he's playing, if Liverpool do go on to win major honours this season, Salah's going to be an integral part of that. And if he continues on the path and on the form that he's on right now, nobody's stopping him for me in terms of the very, very top accolades next season. But I actually thought, having said all of that boss stuff about Mo Salah, I didn't think he was having the greatest night of his life. There was one or two nearly moments. I mentioned the crossbar one a second ago, but he couldn't quite get it under his spell from time to time. He had seemingly had an opportunity, but couldn't quite control the ball in a timely manner, and then Leicester players were getting in the way. And to be fair to Leicester, to give them 1 ounce of credit, they took the goal well, I guess, although I do think Liverpool could have done miles better. Again, that ball, I hate goals where you see the ball just pretty, tamely just runs across the entirety of our defence for a good, what felt like 2-3 seconds. And there's not one Liverpool player that can intervene. That feels weak to me. But anyway, what was I saying? Salah. Yeah, Leicester. They did defend well. They were quite resolute. They were quite compact. They flooded the central areas, which I guess is why we did go out wide and cross, but that just played into their hands. Like, if you're not absolutely pinpoint precision with those crosses, Vestergaard, et al. At the back will just eat them up. And we were miles from being pinpoint with the crosses. There was one or two that felt like something could come off the back of them, but realistically speaking, it wasn't the right approach from us. And Thankfully, we worked it out. Glyn on Twitter says, it was Boxing Day 2019 when I knew we were going to win the league. It's how I feel now. Once we scored, there's only one result. 7 points clear of a game in hand the day after Christmas. It's only going to get better. Listen, Glyn, I wish I shared your confidence. I don't not share your confidence, but I'm also not willing to say it out loud either. So, yeah, take from that what you will. But in terms of sort of where we're at, there's no denying just how strong a position we find ourselves in. And again, with our rivals, in inverted commas, continuing to not really look like our rivals, I guess, yeah, it's hard to argue that we are properly in the ascendancy. I've got the chat back, guys. I think you'll be glad to hear. After a little bit of messing around, we are back online. Quadbod. Are we? There we go. God, I'm good at this sometimes. Yeah, listen. Yeah, he is. I think he was involved in that Palace defeat at Anfield, wasn't he, last year? He's decent, and he took his goal well. Again, I'm just a little bit frustrated with how we defended that first goal, and I think I'm a bit hard of slot, really, in terms of I am somewhat of a perfectionist. I just want to see Liverpool be like untouchably boss, like we were in that game. Glyn mentioned on Twitter a moment ago, like that Leicester game, the Boxing Day one he's referring to, when he believed we were going to go on to win the league. We were absolutely imperious. I know you're not going to do that every time you step onto a football pitch. It's pretty much not possible. Very few teams in history have managed that. I just think there's a degree to which things can happen in games of football, in my opinion. Opponents are allowed to be good and they're allowed to have moments of quality because, listen, this is the Premier League. The Premier League is stacked full of top-class players. But goals can be conceded, but it's how you concede them. And it just felt like that first one to me, well, the only one that Leicester scored, the only chance Leicester really had in the whole game, it's just too straightforward. Yeah, and we're better than that is kind of my point. That shouldn't happen to us because we're too good for that, in my opinion. But anyway, yeah, let's move on. Gary says, our only loss doesn't look too bad now considering where Forest are. No, it's a good point, and that's kind of been the case for a little while, to be honest, hasn't it? Like, at first, it looked like a huge red cross against our name because I think we all imagined Forest would be in around the 15th, 16th, 17th sort of position. But now, given what Forest have done to a lot of teams, they're more than handing out bloody noses now. They're actually a force to be reckoned with a little bit. You're right. I don't, even though it was at home and it'll still sting, and it'll sting for a while, it doesn't look like the worst. It doesn't look as bad as it once did. Anyway, let's put it that way. Paolo says, how good is Gomez? Not sure Ibu comes straight in. No, maybe not. I don't know though. Ibu, I said it pre-game. I felt like he was probably the best centre half in Europe when he got injured, to be honest. So I do agree with the Gomez point. It's similar to the Alisson Kelleher argument for me, in so much as I think there's levels to this game. And I know Joe Gomez is brilliant. I know Joe Gomez, literally in the year we won the league, was absolutely outstanding. I just feel like Gomez's ability and ceiling is sort of here, fucking high. But Konate on his day is higher. And I felt this when Quanta had the shirt over Konate. Like, I love Joel Quanta, and Joel Quanta was doing a brilliant job. But Ibu, when he's right and when everything's proper in the world, Konate's up here. And the same, again, the goalkeeper situation. Kelleher's boss, and Kelleher has been more than able deputy, and I'm so thankful we've got him because he's here. But then as soon as Alisson Becker's available, you know what I mean? I've stopped doing things with my hands now because I look like a dick. But you get my point. Edward, I think we'll be imperious when Ibu and Bradley return. Merry Xmas, buddy. And Merry Xmas to you, my mates. Hope you had a good one and made all the better by Liverpool winning once again. But yeah, the Konate point, it kind of spins off what I was saying there. Like, yeah, I think we're boss, clearly, and that will be reflected when we do the player ranking show in a moment. But yeah, throw Ibu Konate back into the mix, throw Conor Bradley. I referenced it right at the start of the night. Like, Arne Slot's made some big calls tonight when it comes to team selection, in terms of the whole squad, I mean. Because he's left out Trainioni, who's a wonderfully talented player, clearly a player that Arne Slot likes a lot because he keeps picking him, he keeps having him in around the squads. Tyler Morton's not involved tonight. Now, you may look at them two and go, well, that's straightforward. One's 17, one's very much on the periphery. But you add Konate back into the mix and Conor Bradley back into the mix and don't lose anybody else, which hopefully will be the case in a couple of weeks' time, all of a sudden, you've got a major, major selection headache. Like, you got Chiesa on the bench, hasn't come on tonight. Interesting. I know he's been ill, but yeah. And there's a couple of lads there who'll be looking over their shoulder on that bench, thinking, when Bradley and Konate are back, am I the one that's going to miss out? It's that such fierce competition for places is an absolute blessing. And I just hope to God we can be there, because if we are in that situation, it means we've got a full complement to pick from and nobody else is absent, which is brilliant. Yeah, but how many goals have we conceded since Ibu's out? Yeah, a few, and obviously another one to add to that tally tonight. Ibu's absence might be part of that. I just think it's difficult, that, because Gomez hasn't really been at fault for any of the goals at the same time, as far as I can remember. So it's hard to pinpoint. And listen, as a unit, collectively, we might have just defended slightly poorer since Konate got injured, but yeah, it's hard to say, well, Ibu's there, not there, therefore Gomez is, or therefore there's the reason. I'm not quite sure that plays out in practice as well as you may think. Slot is a master of team management. He's proven to be a master in lots of things right now. The Replicators, how do we get Harvey into this team? Difficult, that. Really, really difficult, to be honest. And right now, it's hard to see a way. What Harvey's going to have to do is A, be patient, and B, make an impact when he does get an opportunity, whether it be from the bench or whether it be from starting games such as the Carabao Cup games that are coming up maybe, and probably the Accrington Stanley game, because a lot of people will look at the Accrington Stanley game and be like, play the kids, Trainioni, Jayden Dans, James Norris, Amar Rinaldo, Vitislav Yaros in goal. The list goes on in terms of what that might look like. But actually, in reality, it's probably more likely to be Federico Chiesa, Harvey Elliott, Wataru Endo, Tyler Morton, Kostas Tsimikas, maybe, depending on who's playing instead of Robertson. Conor Bradley, if he's back available. Joel Quanta comes in for that one as well. So they're the sort of games that, like to Harvey Elliott. Does it matter what he does against Accrington Stanley? Maybe not. But still, he's going to want to play, and he's going to want to play well, because every single time he steps on the footy pitch for Liverpool right now, he wants to do that. But now they're mini auditions to Arne Slot, and it's kind of like a nod to say, don't forget about me, because he's not in danger of becoming the forgotten man. But in terms of starting games for Liverpool, it's hard to see where the opportunity comes when it comes to these big games, which again is a brilliant position to be in, because I think Harvey Elliott's boss, absolutely boss. Songs for cases. Harvey's lace up for Sobbo and a start rotation. See, the start rotation thing might be true, but we haven't seen it yet. And I know he's missed a large part of the season for injury, and he's still probably working his way back up to fitness and full speed. But ultimately, we haven't seen him start games of football for us yet. Certainly not in the Premier League this season. They could change. There's still a lot of football left to be played. But I come back to it right now. I'd be pushed to say he will definitely start that game. West Ham the weekend, I just think Szoboszlai comes back in for Jones, and that rotation continues. It feels like it's those two. And actually, Szoboszlai can't start that game because he's suspended, I've just realised. So maybe Harvey Elliott. There you go, there's your answer. Let's just wait and see. Charles J says, Nunez needs to go. We got some Nunez negativity. I don't know. I don't know if I'm having Nunez slander tonight. I'll be honest. I don't think it's the night for it. I thought he was fine. I thought the keeper made a decent save, actually, to stop him scoring. I feel like Nunez did almost everything right in that instance. I don't think tonight's the night for that, based on what he's done. I think all the usual stuff. He led the press quite well. And second half, when we were much, much improved, I felt like he was part of that. I don't think he was anything like a hindrance, to be honest. Listen, as I'm talking, I can see the contrasting comments coming in. I just don't think it's the time for it. I'll be dead honest with you. I'm all for growing up conversations about Liverpool players, because literally that's what we do for a living, and that's what we try and have here. The replicator, you might be right, mate. And listen, in terms of where his ceiling is and what you're able to do with somebody like that, there might be a limit, and we might have reached it. We might have maximised whatever it is we're going to get out of Darwin Nunez. And I'm okay with that, in so much as, do I think if that is the case, that's enough for Liverpool Football Club long term? I don't. I'll be honest. But that's not to suggest I'm going to sit here and just hate on him for no reason, because I thought he was perfectly fine tonight. Are we going to tell our grandkids about Darwin Nunez' performance against Leicester on Boxing Day 2024? Obviously not. But do I think he was a net negative in what we're doing either? Nah, far from it. So, yeah. I don't know. I get it. Some people just won't have him, and some people want him out of the football club as quickly as possible. But I've got a little bit of news for you, and this isn't me being like arrogant or cocky by any way, shape or form, but he ain't going anywhere anytime soon. Like, I do think Liverpool will address the centre forward thing, but we are not addressing that until the summer. I would be staggered if Liverpool did anything in that department in the January window. I really would. But yeah, let's wait and see. But again, I do think there is definitely an upgrade to be had there. And that upgrade, by the way, could be Darwin Nunez getting better, or it could be buying a different centre forward who fits better into what Arne Slot wants, but more importantly, has more of an end product and has more output than Darwin. But listen, we're 7 points clear top of the Premier League. We have a game in hand. It's all going pretty well. And I'm not saying Darwin Nunez is a key contributing factor as to why that's the case, but he's definitely a part of it. Anyway, I will stop talking about Darwin Nunez right now, because it's just not the time nor the place. What do we think then tonight in terms of man of the match? Who are we saying? And you're going to have a better say on that in the player ranking show in just a moment, when you get to tell me exactly what you thought of every player. So after me saying I don't want to talk about the players individually, you'll get the chance to do that. But yeah, I thought, honestly, that second half performance tonight was so much more like what we expected from Liverpool. A lot of people say Mac Allister man of the match as well, which is nice. I like giving Mac Allister his flowers, because for me, he can do everything, can't he? Alexis Mac Allister, he can do absolutely everything. And I'm a huge fan of his. And in a weird way, I often say that, like, obviously you've got your big hitters, your game changers at Liverpool. You've got your Virgil van Dijk, Alisson Becker, Mohamed Salah, Trent Alexander-Arnold. Hate me for it all you want, but he's one of them. In terms of the lads who are just on the team sheet, come hell or high water, they're nailed on to start. I actually think, and Gravenberch may well have forced away into that conversation as well, by the way, I actually think quietly both Jurgen Klopp and Arne Slot would have Alexis Mac Allister in that bracket. And he doesn't always come out of games having shone or lit the place up or, like, you know, been a real talking point or a star of the show, etc., etc., etc. However, he's just so integral to everything that we do. And I reckon he's one of those sort of players, you know, like a Players Player Award. I reckon his teammates absolutely adore him for all the work he does the dirty work, keeps it simple, keeps us ticking, wins his duels. Just a boss teammate and just a boss player to play with. The type of lad who, like, on a Sunday, you'd just be made up he's on your team, because he puts a shift in every single time and he just goes about his business, often quietly under the radar, but just boss. Yeah, and King KTZ there says, Macca does the heart where nobody knows. But again, nobody notices it, but what his teammates would absolutely notice it. Like, he's one of them lads that, like, when you're talking to your man the match, Cody Gakpo tonight for me, by the way, but when you're talking to Cody Gakpo, sort of very behind closed doors or in the interview, he'd be the first person to probably turn to Mac Allister and say, yeah, but this lad, like, don't forget about this lad. Just a proper, team player type vibe. Love him. Absolutely love him. One of my favourites. Formula Mia says, our version of Odegaard. It's interesting, isn't it? Because I actually think he does have those sort of levels in him in terms of what he does in possession. I just don't think we see it very often. He just, again, quite unassuming, goes about his business. But I think if he needed to, and if Liverpool needed him to come to the fore, whether it be with a goal or an assist or whatever, we needed that creative spark from Mac Allister. He can absolutely produce it. So, yeah, just again, proper Swiss Army knife, all-round midfielder, and really, really important. Really, really, really important to us. And one of the ones who I think will have a key say in what we're able to achieve this season. Just somebody we need to keep fit and needs to keep available to us. Edwin Gonzalez says, Nunez always works hard. He might not be the long-term solution, but at least he has effort when he isn't scoring. His passing is also improving. Yeah, I agree. And once again, I don't think he is a long-term solution. If I had to sort of put my cards on the table regarding Darwin, I do think Liverpool should and maybe will look elsewhere. However, I've made my feelings on this quite clear in recent times. I think, how am I going to phrase this? I think there's a conversation in terms of which centre-forward it is. Now, bear with me here, because Darwin Nunez has got 5 months to show a real upturn in performances and form and probably output when it comes to his numbers as well. And listen, Rohan, this could be a good point, and I do still think there are question marks as to what an Arne Slot centre forward looks like. Because obviously it was Santiago Jimenez previously, and we don't really own anything exactly in the same sort of mould right now. But with Nunez, it needs to be that upturn, like I say. With Jota, he needs to stay fit. Like, if he can stay fit between now and the end of the season and score the usual level of goals that Diogo Jota will score in that period of time, which is usually quite impressive, then Diogo Jota stays. There isn't really a conversation, and you go and buy an upgrade on Darwin Nunez for my money. However, somehow. However, if Jota can't do that, and I hope to God he can, because I've said this about 15 times in the past 5 minutes, yet another member of the Liverpool squad who feels like he'll be integral to whatever we can achieve this season in Europe, in the Premier League, domestically, in cups, whatever. If he can't do that, and there is another long-term injury between now and the end of the season, I think you have to then have a serious sit-down chat about what you're doing with him. Because if you can't rely on him to stay fit and available to you, with all due respect, what use is he? And then you look at Jota and maybe upgrading something on him, and you keep Darwin. It's a fascinating one. What would be the the flip side of all of that, and the next option, would be neither things come true, and Darwin doesn't improve. You don't get the upturn in performances and goals, and Jota can't stay fit either. At which point, you've then got to maybe look at doing both, which is a huge wholesale change in the centre forward department, but possibly a necessity, possibly one that's needed. Because I still maintain, and it's crazy to say because we're top of all the leagues and we're flying, I still maintain there's a lot of work to be done before we are the finished article in Arne Slot's eyes. Like, in terms of his lab-built football team, I don't think we're there yet. And we shouldn't be there yet because he's only been working with us for 6 months, whatever it's been, and that hasn't all been plain sailing. He's had unavailability, he's had pre-season problems along the way, setbacks, etc., etc., etc. But yeah, considering all of that, we're doing fucking all right. And considering seemingly Darwin Nunez is no good at football, according to most people, yeah, we seem to be ticking along nicely. Which is nice, isn't it? Which is nice. Back to tonight's game. I'll quickly start to wrap up before I do the player ranking show. This often descends into a Darwin Nunez chat. Baldwin is worried about Gravenberch needing another rotator ASAP in January. Play so many minutes. Yeah, the minutes point is... did I miss something? Sorry, I'll try and find that now. I had to restart the chat. So maybe that's what happened, because there's a period of time whereby the chat was down. So I can only apologise. If it was even on my part of the show, is another point to all of this. But either way, the Gravenberch points. Yeah, he's played a lot of minutes. And there's two ways this can go, really, in terms of the minutes he's amassed so far. Because you could look at it as a positive that he hasn't really done this for 2 seasons now. One at Bayern Munich and one at Liverpool last year, where he never really got up and running, if we're going to be brutally honest about it. So you could look at that and go, well, he's got minutes to play then. He's got minutes in the tank. He should be able to go and go and go and go. However, there's another way of looking at it, and that is he hasn't got sort of the robustness, and he hasn't got those minutes in his legs, really, and he hasn't been there and done it. Therefore, does he have the durability? Does he have the ability in his body to go and go and go? I would err on the second side, as negative and as crappy as that could be, but I just err on the side of caution. And therefore, I would very much like to see us go into the market in January and buy somebody just to take a bit of the burden and a bit of the pressure off Ryan Gravenberch. Now, I'm aware, once again, Wataru Endo can do that, but in a very different way. I just think for now, sent over an hour ago, mate, that's not on me, that. For now, too much of that falls on Ryan Gravenberch, basically, because I don't really envisage a world whereby a big game comes around. Let's say it's Manchester United in a couple of weeks, and whatever you think of them, fucking big game. I don't see Arne Slot choosing Wataru Endo over Ryan Gravenberch, which sounds fucking obvious, by the way. But because of the stylistic difference and seemingly the difference of Arne Slot's opinion of the two of them, Gravenberch isn't going to get a day off there. You know what I mean? And that's probably going to happen and happen and happen, because the magnitude of the games isn't really going to diminish, because we're getting towards the business end of the season with Liverpool at the forefront but still in the title race. So I just worry that the demands that we're putting on Gravenberch could come back and bite us in the arse come March. Therefore, finding a way of easing them would be really, really, really useful. Watch us call Bachetti's back and be done with it. Listen, as solutions go, I don't think it's the worst one in the world. I said earlier on, he's got like 19 games now, I think, at Salzburg. Obviously, Pep Linders isn't there anymore. So the appeal of leaving him there and allowing him to develop and keep learning from somebody he knows and Liverpool trust has now gone. So I don't actually think getting Bachetti's back at Liverpool will be the worst idea, personally. But yeah, that's for another day. Endo was covered in by Rodri when City get relegated. Yeah, quite possibly. Bachetti's wouldn't get in the head of Endo. Now, it's an interesting one, that. And I'll finish on this before I quickly wrap up on the game itself. In terms of, like, what they are as footballers, in terms of, like, quality and obviously experience, and Bill says the same thing here. I get it. I do get it. And I'm inclined to agree with it. However, profile-wise, I do think Arne Slot will prefer Stefan Bajcetic. I can't really get away from that fact. to be honest. So yeah, he doesn't like shin pads. No interest in shin pads. Yeah, listen, you're entitled to your opinion on that. I just think Wataru Endo is a certain type, and I might be pigeonholing him, and I've been pleasantly surprised by his ability. He's scored goals since you've had the football club, and he can play. He absolutely can play. I'm not suggesting he can't whatsoever, and I would keep Wataru Endo around between now and the end of the season because I 100% think there's a place for him in our squad for what he brings, all that vast experience, the leadership qualities he's got, his battle-hardened attitude really to it. It's imperative that he stays. But in terms of like for like, and in terms of the profile that Slot wants, I do think Bajcetic is a better fit, personally. But yeah, well, Bora kind of exactly this, to be honest. Lewis, yeah, and people might have forgotten how brilliant Bajcetic looked because let's be fucking brutally honest about it. I had him down as sort of like the answer to all our midfield woes at one point because Fabinho ran out of legs, Jordan Henderson ran out of legs, and Stefan Bajcetic was this one beacon of hope who, even against Man City and against like Newcastle and just lots of different football teams. 2 years ago today, I think he scored his first goal against Aston Villa, and he took that like fucking just sublimely well. He's a lovely footballer to watch. I'm a big fan, and I hope he comes back whenever that is, ready to go again. Endo is our new Millie, and I kind of the same point from Quadbod as well. But yeah, I get again. I think in terms of squad and in terms of what he can bring and what he offers, I'd keep him around. I'd absolutely keep him around. I'm not writing him off for a single moment. I just think if you said to on the slot tomorrow, Gravenberch can't start this game, you've got a prime, ready-to-go Stefan Bajcetic who's fit, firing, loads of minutes under his belt, playing good football again, or you've got all of those things with Wataru Endo, I still think it would be Stefan Bajcetic, in my opinion. But that's just me. Hedgie asked to think Liverpool will sign. I hope so. Because I think we need to. Not need to, that's a stretch. I just think it would help. Because we're in a position of strength, and you should strengthen from a position of strength, in my opinion, just generally speaking. But I just think there are one or two areas in the squad that are a little bit undercooked right now. The main one being DM, actually, to be honest. Quadbot makes the point it will be Maka before Endo or Stefan. Yeah, I think so. In fact, yeah, it probably would. However, for instance, take this weekend coming up as an example. You've got no Szoboszlai, he's suspended. So if you then have to do Mac Allister in the 6, you've then created a problem further up the pitch anyway. Like, because then you've only got Curtis Jones, Harvey Elliott, really to call upon. If it's Maka, you know what I mean? So I get where you're coming from. I just think if you have to shift one of them back, you create a problem further up. You know what I mean? There's no perfect solution to that. I actually think the solution might be allowing Tyler Morton to leave and bringing either Bajcetic back or one in my opinion. Because I like Tyler Morton, but I don't think he's quite at the level required to be involved in a Premier League title race, which sounds fucking brutal. But, you know, I think he's a very good footballer. He's very tidy, very accomplished footballer who I like to see play for Liverpool. But I don't see him playing a huge role between now and the end of the season. And then, yeah, of course. But you know what I mean. Because you're only then, like, Harvey Elliott has got to knock away, God forbid, from him not being available. You know, and it happens. It sounds doomsday, but it happens. We've fucking seen it with Liverpool fans. We've seen what injury issues look like, you know what I mean? Having said all of that, hopefully none of this comes to fruition and we just continue beating teams left, right and centre every time we take on the football pitch, because that's just a better way of doing it. But anyway, he doesn't play in no Dicky, does he really? You know what I mean? I'm really positive. I don't know why we've gone down this rabbit hole. I do take a little bit of umbrage with that. I don't think he does play him. You know what I mean? Like, has he started a Premier League game this season? And I know Ryan Gravenberch has been excellent, so obviously. But yeah, I think playing him's a stretch. I'll check how many minutes he's played now with how I end up in the league. Look, 1 second. Again, I don't quite know why I'm here, but we're talking, so you know. We're towing their player profile. I will come back onto tonight's game in a moment, trust me. Let me just check. Current season. Here we go. What's he played? He has played... Jesus. I don't know if this includes tonight or not. 23 minutes he's played in the Premier League. If it does include tonight, let me just scroll down 1 second. Let's see if it's updated just yet. Probably not. Oh, 3 minutes. Okay, it's 23 minutes in the Premier League. And we're going to have that. And listen, Dickie, I love you. But he does close games. And I like it. Gravenberch is fine, by the way. I don't even know why we're spending so long dwelling on the fact that Ryan Gravenberch might not play forever, because he might play forever and he might just be sound. Yeah. I don't know. 23 minutes for Torrendo. Is that playing? Sorry. I've done that. Anyway, right, I'll stop. Liverpool were boss. 3-1. Cody Gakpo was exquisite. Mo Salah inevitably get his customary goal. Fella's a genius. And Curtis Jones on his 100th Premier League appearance scored as well. Liverpool, yeah, second half for boss. 7 points clear, top of the Premier League. Really, really good. And fuck me, we've got options. We've got serious options, certainly in attack. Yeah, we are. Yeah, we're looking all right. Despite all my negativity for the past 10 minutes. No, listen, I'm not negative. I'm just trying to make us be as bulletproof as possible moving forward. That's all. I want us to win lots of things, and I want us to do them well. And I just believe the best way of doing that is strengthening in the January window. But that's just me. Feel free. You're perfectly entitled to call me a dick and never listen to a single word I say again. That's fine. I'm okay with that. Hedgie, I would sign a DM. And that's probably it, to be honest. I'd do a DM. The left-back thing can wait till summer. Centre-forward thing can wait till summer. I'd be quite content with that. Sound. Thank you very much. That'll do for this bit of the show. I say this every time, but come and join me for the next bit of the show. Otherwise, it's proper stupid. Like, I've made a bit of a dick of myself for the past 10, 15 minutes anyway. But just you wait and see what that next bit looks like if you're not there. Dear God. So yeah, do come and join me. And you're going to tell me where I should put the faces of Liverpool players in the columns from Boss Sound to your messing. So yeah, do that. See you in a moment.